Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining. Um, Next week is Thanksgiving, so there will not be a class. So there's no class next week, um, and we will continue, God willing, the week after that. Okay, we are going to be discussing. So, of course, this class is dedicated to all the Jewish people, especially in the land of Israel, those who need rescuing, those who need healing, those who need to have success and safety. Okay, let's get into it. So we're going to be discussing this week um, a uh, mitzvah campaign that the Rebbe started in 1974. It was in about 50 years ago. The Rebbe started a mitzvah campaign that all Jewish girls should light Shabbos candles. At that time, the widespread custom was that women would start lighting Shabbos candles after their marriage, and the Rebbe instituted that girls should start lighting Shabbos candles from the age that they can make the blessing, and essentially it became widespread the custom at the age of 3, and it was a little bit different than the other mitzvah campaigns that the Rebbe started in that era, because this one was targeted not just at the quote-unquote unobservant Jewish world. In other words, the Rebbe wasn't trying to introduce a mitzvah to people who were not doing that mitzvah until now, but the Rebbe was saying that even people from religious communities who were not following this custom should follow this custom to start lighting Shabbos candles from an age younger than before their marriage, even younger than Bas Mitzvah, from the age of they could start, the age of 3. And it was met with some backlash, and we'll talk about it. Some of what the Rebbe's idea was, and where it's holding to this day. So let's start with the Code of Jewish Law that discusses the halachas, the laws of lighting Shabbos candles. So the lighting Shabbos candles is a mitzvah that was instituted by the rabbis. It is not a biblical mitzvah. There's a biblical mitzvah to keep Shabbos, but there's no biblical mitzvah to light Shabbos candles. It is a mitzvah that one of the 7 mitzvahs that the rabbis instituted, and let's get into it. So the Code of Jewish Law says as follows: Our sages ordained that on Shabbos, every person should have a light burning in each room that he will enter on Shabbos for the sake of peace in the home, so that he and his household will not stumble over a piece of wood or stone. So essentially, the Shabbos lights are there. We light the candles before Shabbos, so that way there will be light on Shabbos. Again, lighting of a fire, burning a fire, is prohibited on Shabbos, so therefore you should light it before it, so there will be peace in the home on Shabbos. Every person is also partake of this Shabbos meal at night near the light of the lamp. This is included in the obligation of the lighting on the Shabbos. Indeed, the primary aspect of the mitzvah of kindling lights is lighting a lamp close to where one eats. One should be meticulous in making this light beautiful. Anyone who is meticulous in doing so will merit sons who are Torah scholars, as implied by the verse, a mitzvah is a lamp and Torah light. The implication is that the light of the Torah results from the lamp of mitzvah. So not only will a person do the mitzvah, but they're also going to have sons and children who are Torah scholars. There are those who place 2 wicks in this lamp, intending for one light to recall the command to remember the Shabbos, and the other to guard the Shabbos. When using candles made of beeswax, tallow, or other materials, they light 2 candles. One may add additional candles, kindling 3 or 4, as it is permitted to increase beyond the specified number of lights, with a specific intention, provided that one does not light fewer than 2. Okay, so again, the Code of Jewish Law says one should light a minimum of 2 lights. One is in commemoration of the commandment to remember the Shabbos, and one is commemoration to guard the Shabbos. Both men and women are obligated to have a light burning in their homes on Shabbos. However, women are charged with greater care concerning this mitzvah, as they are more frequently found at home and involved in household needs. Again, so this mitzvah is the obligation of every single Jew. However, it is not obligated. Like we said, there's only 2 candles are at a minimum are necessary. So therefore, the person who is in charge of lighting the candles is the woman. That is her specific job. So the Rebbe said that the fact is that we see the Code of Jewish Law specifically says that a person can add in light, and in our times we see that not everybody is lighting Shabbos candles, and the world is in a place of darkness, and therefore it is an opportune time to add in light. And then the Rebbe added that that even girls before marriage should light candles as well. And in a way, the Rebbe said that specifically young girls who are before marriage, that is an opportune time to educate them in this mitzvah, and even educate through the young women and young girls lighting the Shabbos candles. They will educate their mothers to light Shabbos candles as well, as we shall see. So again, there was a lot of opposition, a little bit of there was some opposition to this, and part of it was the fact that the Rebbe was mixing into the religious community, telling other people what their custom is. That people were saying that, listen, their customs are going, ancient custom to light Shabbos candles, and one of the Rebbe's retorts to that was that actually this was an ancient custom. And for some reason, for whatever, throughout Jewish history, certain customs fell off the wagon because of persecution and other reasons. And for whatever reason, or maybe poverty, and for whatever reason, this custom had fallen off. And the Rebbe was reinstituting the idea that girls from the youngest of ages, from the ages of 3 and up, at a minimum, should light Shabbos candles. So the Rebbe actually said that he found the source. He addressed this about a year after he started this campaign, about 50 years ago, and the Rebbe addressed this idea of why of a source, an ancient source for this mitzvah. So in this week's Torah portion, it says as follows: Isaac, we know that Isaac is given a match with Rebecca, and Rebecca comes to the home of Isaac, and they finally get to meet after all the drama of Eliezer, Abraham's servant, making the shidduch with Abraham's family, and she meets Isaac. And the Torah describes it as follows. This is in Genesis chapter 24, verse 6, I believe. Something, maybe, I don't know if I have it written correctly here. At any rate, chapter 24. Isaac brought Rebekah into the tent of his mother Sarah. He took her as his wife, and he loved her. Isaac was then consoled over the loss of his mother. So the Rashi comments immediately on the words "to the tent of his mother Sarah." It's a very strange way of saying it. Just say he brought her into his tent, and then they got married. So Rashi says, what does it mean that he brought her into Sarah's tent? He says that immediately she started to, the similar things that happened by Sarah started happening with Rebecca. And what were those things? That when his mother Sarah was alive, the lamp that they lit on Friday night would last until the next Friday. And there was always a blessing in the dough, and a cloud hovered over the tent. And when Rebecca came, immediately these miracles came back. So the Rebbe says, if you look at the order of the verse, it says that he brought her into Sarah's tent, and then he took her as a wife. So the Rebbe says that we see here, the fact that it says that first he brought her into the tent and then became his wife, that actually Rebecca, our matriarch, she lit Shabbos candles before her marriage, because she was after Isaac saw her lighting Shabbos candles and her candles lasted the entire week, he realized that this is a special woman, that in living in the same values and the same miracles of Sarah. So then he decided to marry her. So the Rebbe says that we see that Rivka, our matriarch, lit Shabbos candles. Now, before her marriage, I should say. So the Rebbe found the ancient source for this custom that women and girls should start lighting Shabbos candles at the earliest of ages. So the Rebbe asks a very interesting question. How come we know that we just explained that according to Jewish law, that a person, if there's no woman in the house, then a man should light the candles, right? The woman is the one charged with it, but if there is no woman in the house, let's say the woman goes away for Shabbos, for whatever reason, there is no woman, a single man living in an apartment, whatever it may be, he's obligated to light Shabbos candles. So if Abraham is widowed from Sarah, then certainly Abraham lit Shabbos candles, or Isaac lit Shabbos candles. And how come the miracle of the Shabbos candles lasting from week to week did not last? And the Rebbe explains as follows: that first of all, we see the power of this young girl, right? Rivka was a young woman, and her lighting the Shabbos candles was more powerful than the adults. That's number one. But number two, the Rebbe says, we see from this that that yes, it's true that Abraham surely lit Shabbos candles, and that Abraham surely lit Shabbos candles, and Isaac surely lit Shabbos candles when Abraham was not there. However, our matriarch Sarah and later Rivka, they were the ones charged with this idea, and they're the ones the woman is the one who makes the atmosphere in the home, and it is not only was it apparent on Shabbos their effect on the home, but it was apparent the entire week, and the way they conducted themselves on Shabbos came into the entire week and affected the entire week. Similar to I think we might have mentioned this last week as well, that this idea that the man brings home the food, but it's not able to be eaten, right? It has to be cooked, and bring in wheat kernels. You got to grind it. You got to mix water. You got to make it into dough and bake it, etc. All those things are done by the woman. The woman is the one in charge of the home. The woman makes the atmosphere in the home, and therefore, that is why, specifically, when Rebecca, even though she was a young girl, even though she was unmarried, specifically when she lit the Shabbos candles, it had a greater effect than on Abraham. And another thing that the Rebbe spoke about was the effects of this campaign. And people, again, were saying that this is not so important, or whatever it is. And the Rebbe told a story that he had heard that was communicated to him about the Shabbos candle campaign. And the Rebbe said that told the following story. There was a woman who sent her daughter to Hebrew school, or some sort of regular school, I'm not sure, in the land of Israel. And at that time, in the mid-1970s, and they were not from a religious home, and they didn't know anything about Judaism. And this little girl comes home one day and tells her mother that she heard about something called Shabbos candles, and that she was told that what you do is you light this candle, you say a prayer, and before you light the candle, people have a custom to give charity, and this was something she was taught as well. And this is how Shabbos begins, by doing this mitzvah. And this girl comes home and says that she wants to light the Shabbos candle. And the mother says, okay, well, what is this? This is not something you think you're in charge here. But the girl did not let up. The girl, as young children do, she was upset, and the mother said, okay, I'm not asking for anything, mommy, this girl was, 5-6 years old. I'm not asking for anything. I have the instructions, on a paper. I just need a candle and a match and a candlestick, and you'll help me, of course. And I just need permission. I'm not asking you to do anything. So the mother said, okay. So the girl went and she lit she lit the candle, and she, on their dining room table, and she was so excited that she had lit her candle. She told everybody. She went around her house. Again, was not an observant household. She went around her house telling everybody, it's Shabbos, you're not allowed to move the candle, not allowed to touch the candle, you're not allowed to put out the candle. And okay. And they saw it wasn't such a big deal. And so the next Friday, again, she lit the Shabbos candle, and it started to affect the home. After a few Shabboses, they said, it's not appropriate. This girl is making such a hullabaloo about her Shabbos candle. It's not appropriate that we should have the television on and be watching television when while this candle is burning. And eventually, they also started, when the phone would ring, when the candle was burning, they wouldn't answer the phone. And eventually, The mother said, "Listen, this is very strange. My daughter's lighting Shabbos candles, and we're not watching television during this time, but I'm not lighting Shabbos candles." So the mother said, "Okay, I'm also going to light Shabbos candles," and she started lighting it. And with lighting Shabbos candles, they would dress up, they would put on Shabbos clothes, and then they would, after they would have a Shabbos candle, they would have a meal, and then eventually. They wouldn't prepare a meal. You can't, cooking on Shabbos is a violation of Shabbos, so that felt inappropriate to cook a meal on Shabbos. So they would cook a meal. They would cook before Shabbos. They would make a chalent or whatever it is. They would prepare the food before Shabbos, as is the custom. And eventually, the Rebbe said the whole family became observant and became part of the Jewish, re-engaged in with their observance, with their heritage, and started observing all the mitzvahs. And it all became because of why? Because this one little girl lit a candle. So we see the power of this mitzvah, even by young children. So this is, again, 50 years ago. Whenever there's 50 years is a big milestone in Judaism, a Yovel, a Jubilee. So it's important for us to reconnect with this idea that, number one, it makes sure that everybody in their homes should light a Shabbos candle, and not just the parents of the home, but also the little kids, even the little girls, should also light the Shabbos candles. Maybe even especially the little girls, and give a little bit of charity before, of course, because once you start it's Shabbos, and we don't, and we no longer handle money on Shabbos, and light a candle, sit down, have a kiddush, have a Friday night dinner with your family, spend time with your family, and you never know what good things could happen from that. Thank you very much for joining. Again, there is no class next week, but we will see you the week after that. Have a great Shabbos.